Hey gang, so in that last video we got Mario to show up. Here he is. Now we need to make him move. And I'm going to recommend that we write a move function. And a move method on Mario. So when we call mario.move, we're going to increment the position of the x by this dot direction times this dot speed. So we're going to be just changing this x value, and we're going to need, in order to do that, we're going to need to have a direction. And that direction is going to go back and forth between 1 and -1. So when we want Mario to move left, we're going to switch the direction to -1. The speed is always going to be, and you know, this is just something I thought felt good. So when we call move, we're going to increment x by either 20 or -20, in which case we'll be decrementing it. And when we want to run right, we're going to have to do a couple of things. Because remember, we want to grab a certain chunk of these images. So remember I was mentioning we've got this chunk for moving left and this chunk for moving right. And I don't know what, I think maybe this, I don't know what we'll do with that, but we can tailor it as we go along. And so what I want to do is I want to have a run right and a run left. And, you know, alphabetically, this should probably go first. Why can't the left be first? So we'll say this dot direction equals a -1. So when we trigger this function, we're going to set the direction to -1. When we trigger the right, oh, whoops, that's wrong. When we trigger the left, it's going to be -1. When we go right, it's going to be 1. And then in either case, we're going to call this dot move. And we need to now set this image counter appropriately. And if you noticed, we're currently running along. Let's set it by default to that one that's static, that guy. So that's what Mario's supposed to look like when he's just chilling, I think. Now, so our default image counter is at 5. But what we're going to do is we're going to write a function that we can use in either case, regardless of which chunk of images. We're still going to be choosing a chunk of images. So what I recommend is we'll say this dot next image. This is now how we're going to increment this counter. So you noticed in the coin, I can't remember how we were incrementing. Oh, we aren't incrementing this image counter presently in the coin, are we? That might have been something that I forgot to do. Maybe you can figure out how to do that. Or I'll do that in emergency next video. Think about that. But we're going to increment this image counter, and it's going to be a little bit complicated because what we need to do is we need to decide if this is, so let's see, take another look at that. If the image counter is, if he's moving left, we want it to be between 0, 1, 2, 3, and 5. And if it's moving right, we want it to be between 8 and 9. I think that's right. No, not 8 and 9. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 9. Okay, so what we're going to do is then write this next image function that's going to take in a start and an end. So let's see, if we're going to go left, I think we said it was 3 and 5, and we're going to have that same method but with different numbers when we're going to go right. So 6 and 8. Now, if we're going left, we want to decrement. So it's extra cool that we have this direction, because when we're going left, the direction is going to be -1. So let's just write this. And you can see I usually try and write my methods in alphabetical order, but it's not a requirement. So you notice we brought in that start and that end. Always going to be two numbers, a start and an end. And then inside this function, this method, this.nextImage, we can use those. We could say if our image counter is less than the start, then we're going to say this.image counter equals start. So when we first go to run right, we're less than the start of where we want to be. So we're going to go to 6. We're at 5, we're going to go to 6. And then we'll say, so we're saying if this.image counter is less than start, we're going to set image counter to start. Now we can say an else. Else if this.image counter is greater than, can you guess? And so we'll have these 3 different possibilities. And in the sort of default possibility where we're neither at the beginning or the end of this, we're just going to say this.image counter plus equals. And you'll see this a lot in especially in game code, where you'll use a direction to flexibly move right or left. We used it last time, I think we had our balls, we wanted to turn them around, we changed the direction so that when we're adding, we're actually subtracting. And you'll see that a lot. And so if this.image counter is greater than end, where do we want to go? Can you guess? So that's how we're going to get our next image. And I think that might be it for our Mario class, except what we need to do is we need to wire this up to our keyboard. So let's see what we got here. So in our sketch, we've got our render. What we want to do, I think, is have something. And this function will be kind of big, so let's break it out and put it in a function. And for now, I'm just going to put this function down here. And oh, so what we could do is use an arrow function. We can also write function check keys. And in this case, maybe I'll just write with the regular old function declaration to keep it consistent with what P5 demands that we use old-fashioned function declarations for the draw, the preload, and the setup. And I was looking into that recently, and if you're interested, holler at me and I'll share with you what I learned. So when we're checking these keys, we're just gonna have a if else so we're just gonna use this else if else if, and in each one of these we're gonna invoke a thing from the P5 library, and you can look this up. Key is down. It just looks for a specific key. So I'm gonna pass in up arrow, down left arrow, and right arrow. And I think I just kind of spilled the beans on what's coming next by having this up arrow, because what we're going to do in there is say hero Mario dot jump, right? And then if that's the case, we'll return. So we won't check the rest of these. And then if we so now, no matter which arrow we push, we're going to jump. No, that's not what we want. We want to run left, and we want to run right. So now we're going to check the keys constantly in the draw loop, and anytime the left arrow is pressed, we're going to run left, and then anytime the right arrow is pressed, we're going to run right. And let's just see if it works. Yeah, there he goes. Running left, running right. Running left, running right. Jump. Uh-oh, not a function. So that's what we got to do in the next video. We're going to have to make hero Mario.jump into a function, and it's going to be a bit of a challenge. So maybe take a little coffee break or a little break and come back for that one. But